Welcome back onto the aviation sector now. The new civil aviation policy that will decide upon the rules and regulations for the world's third largest growing aviation sector, which handles around 20 million flyers annually, is all set to reach the cabinet next week. So what does the new policy propose? Sindhu Bhattacharya now joins us with the details. Sindhu, this has been a long, arduous wait. Clearly that wait is going to end next week then.
Well, our sources tell us that next week the policy is most likely to get to the cabinet. Remember, this was the 520 was actually something that needed to go to the cabinet, but now the entire policy will be going to the cabinet. As we've said earlier, one of the main proposals of this policy is to modify the 520 rule. The 520 rule bars Indian carriers from flying overseas unless they've completed 5 years and have a fleet of 20 aircraft. The modification that we hear from our sources is that the 5-year stipulation is expected to go, but the 20 aircraft stipulation is expected to stay, which technically means that any new airline can fly overseas from day one. But since it is very difficult for any new airline to have a fleet of 20 aircraft from day one, this will automatically mean a delay of about a year, 2 years maybe. But basically, this is a dilution of a very retrograde rule, which the policy is expected to propose to the cabinet next week. Some of the other provisions that we hear from our sources include the provision for regional connectivity. Remember, the draft policy has proposed that there be a special category of airlines called scheduled commuter airlines, which fly on routes which are unviable right now, with the help of viability gap funding, where the centre and the state will pitch in. And if they take the viability gap funding, then they have to cap airfares at 2,500 rupees per hour of flying. Now, that is a proposal where there's been a lot of mixed reaction in the industry. Other proposals that are expected to get to the cabinet next week include auction of unused bilateral rights. Remember, Indian carriers do not use all the bilateral rights under which they fly to other countries. So therefore, the government proposes to auction these bilateral rights. This proposal again is expected to generate a lot of flack, because this could mean that Gulf carriers, powerful Gulf carriers, for example, pick up passengers from India and take them to third countries, and this impacts Indian airlines as well as infrastructure that is created in India. Some other proposals of the policy include some tax stops for the MRO industry. Remember, the policy is expected to be silent on Air India, which is a big flaw, and is also not expected to give any relief to airlines' operating costs, because the ADF taxation is unlikely to get any relief under the policy. Back to you, Ronajay.
Thank you very much, Sindhu, for that. Really, all lies there. The cabinet, in all likelihood, will be taking up the aviation policy. Moving